welcome to Freshly Served, the healthy vegan cooking show. I'm Heather, and today we're going to make a Mexican rice, and it's going to be really fun because we're going to make it green, which means there's going to be a ton of greens in this rice. So it's basically like a salad, but yummier. And we're also going to put some really nice spicy Mexican flavors in there. As you may know, I'm not a huge fan of the spiciness, but every so often I throw some in there for you. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm gonna make mine a little bit less spicy. Of course, you can always go spicier, and the recipe is kind of middle of the road. So I'm gonna do it a little bit less spicy than I've actually posted on the recipe. All right, so to start, I'm going to blend some greens in my blender. Kind of like a green smoothie, but we're not gonna add any fruit or anything like that. So what I'll do to start is get some spinach, and I've washed this spinach. The nice thing about blending greens up is that you don't have to worry about drying them off. You can just wash them, chuck them in there, and you're set to go. And I like a lot of greens, so I'm gonna put quite a bit in here. Now, the one tricky thing about blending greens is that they don't really want to blend very well. And you need to make sure you add enough water. Excuse me. All right, back to this. So I've got my spinach in the blender with plenty of water. Stick it on here. And like I said, it might be a little bit tricky at first until you get some crushed up greens in the bottom. You might have to stop the blender, shove it down, keep going, okay? Now don't get discouraged. It might take a little while to get to this point. You might have to stop your blender often, like I said, and just give things a stir in here and then start it again. But once you have got yourself a nice, beautiful green juice going on down there, which you could drink if you wanted to, it'll get easier going forward. So what I'm gonna add next is some cilantro, which for those of you like me who aren't big fans of cilantro, this can be a scary thing. I'm adding it because it really is, you know, your quintessential Mexican flavor. But to be honest, if it were just me for dinner, I probably would not add this. But here we go. Okay. That's in there. I'm also gonna add a nice big bunch of parsley to soften things up. And a tip with the blender, if you chop things up before you put it in, it's much easier to blend. Greens actually work really well with hand blenders, if you have a hand blender, because you can actually move the blender around, whereas with this blender, the greens have to work their way down to the bottom. Food processor, also excellent. Okay, so now that we have the spinach blended up, if you get the herbs here down into the spinach juice, things will go much smoother from here on out. You may need to add more liquid. I'm also going to throw, just because I happen to have some fresh oregano here that I hadn't used for anything else, I'm going to throw that in, but it's not necessary. I'm also going to add half a can of coconut milk, and this is going to smooth things out, also adds a bit more liquid. But you might notice when you blend up greens, they tend to make you know, green stuff on the top, and then they separate from the water on the bottom. If you add some coconut milk, it helps to keep those things together, smooths things out. If you're making a smoothie out of this, banana does the same function. So give it another blend, wait until those herbs are nice and smooth, then we'll be ready to head on. So it's bright, beautiful green, and like I said, it's a smooth, homogeneous mixture, if you will. because the water does not separate out from the greens because of the coconut milk we put in there. Last thing to add here is a jalapeno pepper. There she is. Just take the seeds out because they're super, super spicy, and be careful when you're cutting it because it will burn your fingers if you have any cuts on your fingers, or just in general, if you have sensitive skin, it will burn. If you really like spicy foods, you can add 2 of these, or a serrano pepper, which is spicier than a jalapeno. Whatever you like. All right, jalapeno, seeded, chopped, blended. Whew. Okay, moving on to the fun part. I've got an onion. And what I'm gonna do is chop this onion. I've also got some garlic. What am I gonna do with it? Chop it. And they are going to go in the pot. I've got it heating up to medium-high. And when that's hot, I will put a little tiny bit of olive oil in here and then saute these guys one at a time till they're softened. Sound good? Sounds good to me. Once the onions and the garlic have had a bit of chance to cook, then you can add your rice. Any type of long grain brown rice is fantastic. Basmati is a rice that is a long grain, so if you have some of that that's brown, go for it. And I just wanted to show you this. My friend Mary had the wonderful idea to make little cloth bags that we could use for bulk foods, which if you're like me and buy a lot of bulk, they come in very handy. You can avoid plastic. So I'm going to take a cup of rice, put it in here, stir it around, and let it toast just a little bit to bring out the nutty flavor of the rice. Now, a note on these bags, they are breathable. So when I store my rice, I just bought this rice, but when I store it in glass jars, and I use jars from coconut oil or whatever type of food I buy and store them in there because you don't want your rice to be breathing. It'll absorb any kind of flavors or stuff in the air, and it can lose its nutrients to the air. So once I'm done with this, I'm going to put it in a glass jar. Rice is looking nice and toasty. I can hear it crackling down there, just like Rice Krispies. So it is time to add the liquid, and I'm going to put the greens in first because they look kind of big, and I don't want to overflow my pot. Now in the greens, I put half a cup of water and about half a cup of coconut milk. I just used half a can, which is a little bit more than half a cup, but that's okay. So stir this around. Make sure the rice gets off the bottom, otherwise it won't incorporate into the liquid. So normally we do 2 to 1 for rice, for liquid to rice. And so I've got about 1 to 1 here, plus the liquid from the greens, but I had measured out a cup and a half of water before I started. I've used half, so I can do about a cup here. And like I said, I just want to make sure I don't overflow the pot. So stir this around, bring it to a boil, and then once it's boiled, you turn it down to simmer for about 45 minutes. The rice will cook. It will be lovely, and you will have some gorgeous Mexican green rice. You can serve this along with some vegetables, some beans, whatever you like, or you can have it just on its own. This rice is now cooked, looking excellent. There's quite a bit of liquid in here. It's more of like a pie style with a lot of liquid in the rice than a dry type of rice. The last thing I'm going to add in here are some fresh chives that I've chopped up. You can save a few to sprinkle on top, make it look pretty. Look how pretty and green that is. Makes me want to just take a bite out of it. You can find the recipe at healthyveganrecipes.net. I'm Heather, and this is Freshly Served.